Most people think their woodworking projects fail for one simple reason: lack of skill. But that's not what's actually happening. Because if it were just about skill, then why do the same people get completely different results depending on the project they choose? You can spend hours measuring, cutting, sanding, doing everything carefully, and still end up with something that just doesn't fit right. Edges don't align. Joints don't close. And somehow, the final piece looks nothing like what you had in mind. So you start questioning yourself. Maybe you rushed. Maybe you measured wrong. Maybe you're just not good at this yet. But here's what makes it frustrating. You try again. And again. You slow down. You double-check everything. You follow the steps more carefully. And still, something feels off. The result never quite matches the effort. And over time, that creates a pattern. Projects get delayed. Some get abandoned halfway through. Others get finished, but never feel right. Not because you didn't try, but because something underneath the process isn't working the way it should. At first glance, it seems like a simple issue. Maybe you need better tools. Maybe more practice. Maybe more patience. Those are the obvious explanations. But they don't fully explain why things keep going wrong in the same way. Because even beginners who are careful, who follow instructions, who take their time, still run into the exact same problems. That's where the real issue starts to reveal itself. It's not about how hard you try. It's about what you're following. Most woodworking projects don't fail during the cutting or the assembly. They fail long before that. They fail at the plan level. And that's something most people don't notice. Because the plan usually looks complete. Clean drawings. Nice layout. A list of materials. Everything seems organized. But once you actually start building, gaps start to appear. A step that jumps ahead without explaining how to get there. A measurement that looks correct on paper, but doesn't translate in real life. An assembly sequence that assumes you already know what to do next. And those small gaps, they compound. A tiny mismatch early on turns into a joint that won't close later. A missing detail forces you to guess. And every guess increases the chance that something won't line up. It's like trying to follow a map that skips a few turns. You don't notice it at the beginning. But eventually, you realize you're not where you expected to be. The real issue isn't your skills. It's the lack of complete buildable structure in what you're following. That's the difference most people overlook. Because a plan isn't just a drawing. It's a sequence. It's timing. It's knowing what happens first, what comes next, and how each step connects to the next one. Without that, you're not building. You're interpreting. And interpretation is where mistakes happen. Even experienced woodworkers run into this. Not because they don't know how to cut or assemble, but because they're forced to fill in missing pieces that were never clearly defined. Once you see it this way, things start to make more sense. It explains why some projects feel smooth from start to finish, and others feel like a constant series of corrections. It's not random. It's structural. When the structure is clear, the process becomes predictable. When it's not, every step becomes a potential problem. That's why two people with the same tools, same materials, and similar experience can end up with completely different results. One is following a complete system. The other is trying to figure things out as they go. And that difference shows up in the final result. Not as a dramatic failure, but as small imperfections that add up. Misalignment. Instability. A finished piece that doesn't quite match the vision. So, instead of asking, what did I do wrong? A better question is, what am I working from? Because once that part is solid, everything else becomes easier. Not effortless, but clearer. more predictable, more consistent. If you want to understand what a complete, buildable plan actually looks like, there's a structured breakdown linked in the description that walks through it step by step. And if you want more content like this, focused on understanding the process, not just the outcome, consider subscribing. Because once you see the structure behind the work, you don't go back to guessing.